At the current moment, I think we can all agree America loves Charles Barkley. And just looking at him now, what's not to love? On TNT, Chuck is funny, he's insightful, he gets in arguments with Shaq. And as an NBA player, Chuck was an 11-time All-Star, an MVP, a member of the original Dream Team, and of course, an NBA Hall of Famer. During his playing days, Charles Barkley was an absolute NBA superstar. What he was not, however, was a role model.
I am not a role model. I'm not paid to be a role model.
Because during Chuck's playing days, this was a constant theme for him. He made it very clear to the parents and kids of America that he was just a basketball player, not someone you should be looking up to. And I've gotta say, his record when it comes to doing some pretty bad things pretty much proves that he should not be a role model. At least back when he was playing, because as you'll see in this video, Chuck has turned his life around drastically in recent years, but before this turnaround, we saw the on-court fights with people like Shaq, Bill Laimbeer, and Charles Oakley. We heard about the off-court fight, an incident where a 5'2" man threw a drink on Charles Barkley, and so Chuck actually threw him through the window of the bar they were at. Later telling the judge of his case when asked if he had any regrets, simply, yeah, I regret we were on the first floor. Side note here, Charles' punishment for throwing this man through a window was a hefty $320 fine and 2 community service sessions. Anyway, Barkley has also been arrested for a DUI in 2008, an arrest that resulted in him later telling the media that he was drunk driving because he was looking for a prostitute. Yup, that actually happened, and apparently Charles Barkley getting so into gambling that he estimated he's lost $10 million in his lifetime is also a thing that's happened. In fact, Chuck has said that he's lost $2.5 million in a single 6-hour period. And going back to the start of his NBA career, already the man was up to some shady things when he was told by his agent that if the Sixers took him, they weren't going to pay him enough. So in order to try and avoid getting drafted by Philly, Charles put on 20 pounds in just 2 days and still got drafted by the 76ers. Again, during his playing days and for a long period after, Charles Barkley was a man who was in no way a role model. Which brings us to the story of today's video, the story where, even for a self-proclaimed bad guy like Charles Barkley, things just went too far. I'm talking, of course, about the time that Chuck spit on an 8-year-old girl. Now, to set the stage here, by the time of this spitting incident, Charles Barkley was a very notorious name in the NBA. In fact, the spit game would actually take place in the 1991 season, while one of Chuck's other, not exactly great moments in the league would come just one season before, as Charles did fight the Pistons' Bill Laimbeer, and in doing so, caused a bench-clearing brawl between both teams. Fun fact, at the time when all of the fines were given out after this Bill Laimbeer versus Charles Barkley fight, the combined amount would actually set an NBA record for most amount fined in a single game. So that's what Charles Barkley was up to those days, which is why it was really no surprise that in that 1991 game against the New Jersey Nets, Chuck would be faced with a fan who was a giant trash talker. Throughout the whole game, this guy's mission was to get in Charles Barkley's head, and obviously he would succeed, because with just 1 minute and 38 seconds left in the fourth quarter of a game that would go into overtime, Barkley yet again heard more trash talk from this guy and decided enough was enough. And so, well, let's just watch the clip here. Yikes. If you're wondering what happened here, Charles would later say, quote, "You do stupid things and stuff like that happens. I just have to live with a stupid mistake. He was walking toward me and I spit at him. I was tired and I didn't have enough foam in my mouth. It went everywhere. I made a mistake." Which sounds like a decent enough apology, I guess, except for the fact that he spit on an 8-year-old girl. This is possibly one of the worst things that an NBA player has ever done during a game. I mean, at least when Ron Artest charged into the stands and punched someone, that someone was a grown man. Now, it was the wrong grown man. It was not the guy that threw a beer at him, but it was a grown man nonetheless. Chuck hit a little girl with a huge wad of spit. I can't imagine how horrible that experience was for her. I can't imagine how horrible that experience was for her entire family. And of course, when all of this happened, Charles Barkley became public enemy number 1. It seemed like everyone in the country hated him, and there was some good reason here. But the thing is, when a person commits a horrible act like this, you really get to see a true glimpse into their real character. And when all of this happened to Charles Barkley, he took it as a wake-up call. Numerous people have said that Chuck apologized to the girl countless times, gave her and her family tickets to watch a bunch of Sixers games, and even ended up becoming friends with the girl because of this incident. As for what was going on in Chuck's mind at the time, well, in an interview, he revealed this.
When I first got to the NBA, I was angry.
He would continue in this interview to say that he was angry at a Spanish teacher for failing him in her class, which meant that he could not graduate with the rest of his friends. He would also say he was mad at his dad because his dad had shown up at graduation, realized Charles was not graduating, and justifiably yelled at him. These two things must have left a huge imprint on Chuck because he still mentions them decades later, and he points to those two things as the reason why he got into so much trouble in the NBA. However, with that said, after the spitting incident, Chuck was fined $10,000 and suspended for 1 game. During that suspension, while his team was playing, Charles was in a hotel room, and again, let's listen to the interview.
And I remember sitting in a hotel room, and I was like, dude, what the is wrong with you? What are you so angry about?
Yes, amazingly, in perhaps his darkest hour as an NBA player, Charles Barkley took a long, hard look at himself and realized that he did not love the man that he had become. And so from that day on, yes, Charles Barkley has still done some bad things. Yes, he is not a perfect person, but he credits this incident for turning his life around and making him the man he is today. The man that America loves, the man that we watch on TNT every week. So while I want to make it clear that I in no way endorse what Charles Barkley did, again, it was disgusting and horrible, I do have a lot of respect for the man for how he handled the incident after it happened. And to end this video, let's finish off with a nice Charles Barkley quote. Honestly, I think this is a great one.
If you play sports on the edge, it's not a matter of if you go off the cliff, it's just a matter of when.
And so there you have it, guys. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're new to this channel, make sure to subscribe for more videos like this. If you're already subscribed, thank you so much for supporting. You're awesome. We all know it. And as always, have an awesome day, and cue that music. By the way, if you're still here while the music is cued, here are 2 videos I think you are going to love watching. All you have to do is just click on either one of them on the screen right here. And other than that, guys, again, have a great day and peace.